On a sunny afternoon in 1983, a teenage girl set out alone on horseback for a beach ride, expecting to return home by evening, but she never did. Her horse was later found loose near a bridge, and a search led to a gun emplacement where blood was discovered. Witnesses recalled seeing her injured and in the company of a suspicious man near a white vehicle, which was never found. A witness who had spoken with her became the prime suspect after forensic evidence linked his property to the scene, and he eventually confessed, only to later recant, citing mental illness. Over the years, his behavior grew erratic, and he made unsettling visits to the girl's family before dying by suicide. Despite extensive investigation, no charges were ever filed, and the case remains unsolved. Welcome to Without a Trace. I'm your host, Jalynn. Every file holds a mystery. Every story deserves to be heard. This is Kirsa's story. Kirsa Jensen was born on December 15, 1968, to Robin and Dan Jensen. She and her brother Michael were raised in Napier, as her father was the minister at St. Augustine's Church. She was a good student, attending her second year at Colenso High School. Sweet but often shy, Kirsa always had a slightly closer bond with the animals in her life, and a special passion for those in the animal kingdom. Kirsa hoped to attend Massey University to become a veterinarian and was even volunteering with a local vet in town. She was also a member of the New Zealand Equestrian Club and was responsible for her own horse, Commodore. She and Commodore were training for an upcoming show, but the weather had prevented them from riding. September 1st, 1983 brought sun, and Kirsa had planned to go riding with her friend. She spent the morning volunteering at the vet's office. Around midday, just having got back home, she got a call from her friend. Her friend was going tramping with her dad and could no longer go riding, but Kirsa was still keen to go to the beach. She got Commodore ready and said goodbye to her mother around 2:45 p.m. She knew she needed to be home by 5. The trip was common for Kirsa and considered relatively safe. The route was in a well-populated area, and the beach she rode on was visible from the highway. It was the middle of the day, and Kirsa had gone the same way many times previously. Following their usual route, they should have arrived at the beach sometime around 3:30 p.m. At 10 to 5, Robin looked at her watch and thought to herself, Kirsa will be home soon. When 5 p.m. rolled around and there was no sight of Kirsa, Robin began to feel anxious. Robin made a comment to Michael about his sister's absence, but he told her not to worry and reassured her that Commodore could get away from any danger. By 5:30, there was still no sight of Kirsa. Dan and Michael left home to look for her. Robin told herself if Kirsa wasn't home in 15 minutes, she would phone the police. Dan and Michael had no luck finding Kirsa, and at 5:45 p.m., Robin reported her daughter missing. Within minutes, a police officer arrived at the house. Not long after, Robin heard a horse had been found loose near a bridge. A family friend quickly confirmed the horse was Commodore. Usually, Kirsa would make a left turn when she reached the beach, but it appears on this day she turned right towards unfamiliar territory. A search for Kirsa was launched. Robin stayed home, hoping her daughter would walk through the front door. She began making calls to people who could help search for her daughter, ensuring to leave time between each call in case Kirsa came through. The police initially thought Kirsa could have fallen off her horse and drowned in the river. Police divers were brought into the area to begin searching the river and other waterways, along with a heat detector used to find bodies, but Kirsa was not found. They found parts of a bridle and hoof prints on the beach near a gun emplacement. Shortly after 11:30 p.m., police called off the search, halting it until daylight broke again. Robin went out to the gun emplacement with some friends to search for herself, but also found nothing. She decided to go home and turn on a lamp, waiting for Kirsa. The next morning, Robin returned to the gun emplacement to search for her daughter. She found a piece of rope tied to the reinforced steel at the gun emplacement. It matched the piece of rope that had been found on Commodore's bit. It looked like he had been tied there but had broken free. Robin thought this was strange, as Kirsa wouldn't have done this. Further, the rope did not belong to the Jensen family. She went up to the gun emplacement and started searching for more clues. She found blood on the grass and concrete streaked down the wall. Results from forensic testing were released 11 days after and confirmed that the blood was also found on the rope found at the gun emplacement. It was human blood. Further DNA testing revealed that the blood found at the scene was highly likely to belong to Kirsa. The investigation was now leading police to believe someone was responsible for Kirsa's disappearance. Shortly after Kirsa's disappearance, police began to build a timeline. 2 surfers reported seeing a girl on the beach leading a horse by its reins at about 4:20 p.m. They noticed the girl was holding a handkerchief to her face and believed it had blood on it. At 4:40 p.m., a motorist passing by the gun emplacement reported seeing an agitated horse, and at about 4:45 p.m., another surfer arrived. The horse was there, but Kirsa was gone. However, it was one of the first witnesses that caught the police's attention. An orchard worker, John Russell, contacted police and said he had seen a girl with a bald, middle-aged man at the beach. At about 4:30 p.m., he drove across the bridge and saw the man standing near Kirsa and Commodore. There was a white utility vehicle with brown sides parked close by. John stated the scene didn't feel right to him, so he went back. When he returned, the man that he had seen was gone. Kirsa, however, was still there. She had blood on her face and told John that she had fallen from her horse and that someone had gone to get her parents. So John left. John's story aligned with the testimonies of the other witnesses, and his neighbors told police that he arrived home shortly after, leaving him no time to snatch the girl. In the following months, police hunted for the mysterious white utility vehicle seen by John. More than 800 white utility vehicles were investigated and cleared. No vehicle matching the description was ever found. Meanwhile, authorities continued investigating the mysterious rope found at the gun emplacement. Pollens and spores from an orchid spray were found on the rope. These matched samples taken from John's home, car, and the orchard where he worked. He confirmed that the rope was an old caravan awning that his employer had asked him to take to the dump. He kept a few pieces, but couldn't explain how one was used to tether Kirsa's horse. Police searched John's house and vehicle. 2 strands of hair were found in his car. They were sent for analysis to be compared to hair from Kirsa's brush. The results showed a strong statistical match. None of Kirsa's blood was found in his car, nor was any other evidence. Police determined it was possible that there had been an accidental transfer of hair, as John had admitted to talking to Kirsa. Then, in 1985, John confessed to Kirsa's murder. He later recanted his statement, saying he had been mentally ill. He had become the prime suspect in the case, but no charges were ever laid. It was determined that there was not enough evidence and the case was not strong enough to take to court. Whether it was from guilt or from being falsely accused, it was reported that over the years, John's behavior became more erratic. He went to the church where Kirsa's father worked and even made several visits to the Jensen home. He never admitted to knowing where Kirsa was. Slowly, Kirsa's disappearance drove a wedge in his marriage. After his marriage fell apart, John went back into psychiatric care. After his release, he was seriously injured in a car accident, and there was some speculation that it was an attempted suicide. Years later, after absconding from the psychiatric hospital, John walked into the office of Detective Holyoke, who had been in charge of the case. John was rambling, saying things like, "Could I have done it? Could it have been me?" Given that John was not making a lot of sense and was clearly mentally unstable, he was sent back to the hospital. Detective Holyoke believed that John no longer knew if he had killed Kirsa or not, and believed he had forensic amnesia. It is not uncommon for perpetrators to claim amnesia for their crime. Many violent offenders report amnesia surrounding their crime, most frequently following homicide. The detective explained, quote, "Plenty of people do that. hide the horror in their mind, and the longer the time goes by, they convince themselves they never did it. Years later, with new eyes, detectives visited the spot John claimed to be when he first saw Kirsa. It was determined that the angle at which he was traveling would not have allowed him to see Kirsa. Inconsistencies in his witness account were adding up. 9 years after she went missing, John committed suicide. He left no suicide note. Robin believes her daughter was attacked and kidnapped near the gun emplacement. She has kept Kirsa's old riding jacket, which still has her old pins from hunt clubs on it. If Kirsa is ever found, she will be buried with it. Thank you for listening to Without a Trace. I hope you enjoyed our deep dive into Kirsa's disappearance. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe and follow Without a Trace on social media. And join me next week as I dive into another case.